And inspired.
We love God, we ought to be able to talk about Him.
Getting you started on your day.
With the latest in breaking news and information
from the Vatican to the White House and everything in between.
It's serious, it's fun, it's your Catholic Drive Time.
Now here's your host, Joe McClain.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to Catholic Drive Time, keeping you informed and inspired. I'm your host, Joe McClain. So good to be on with you on this Thursday, August the 18th, 2022. Praise be to God. Good morning. 24 hours away, that's all you got. And a little extra till the weekend anyway, praise be to God. Hopefully it's going to be good. Hey, here's a question. Should you, a dear parent, send your kids to college? I know, it's like, got to get those kids through college, and they got to go to a major university. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, God, their life may be ruined if they don't go to your alma mater. But should they go to college at all? We're asking that question today with Dr. Michael Robillard. He is the co-author of a book by Regnery called Don't Go to College, A Case for Revolution. He has a PhD. He's taught in colleges, major like Oxford, West Point, or I think Naval Academy and others. He's an Iraq war veteran, and he joins us at 35 past the hour to ask a fundamental question: why parents should consider not sending their kids straight off to college. There's a lot more at stake here, and we're going to jump into that at 35 past the hour. Join us for that. Hey, the Swiss bishops have released a statement on the synodal way. Their findings. Have they found the get-out-of-jail-free card is recognizing the royal, priestly, and prophetic dignity of all the baptized, sort of the way we get through a lot of this shenanigans related to the synodal process. We're going to have that conversation at 15 past the hour. And then bigpulpit.com is on the board for the top of the next hour. If you can join us, we'd love to have you. So much to conversate about today, though. The Anglican Church splits yet again, this time in Australia, as conservatives within the Anglican communion there reject endorsement of same-sex marriage. Hey, Boston Children's Hospital, you might remember we reported on this yesterday. They were promoting, surgeries that you can't go backwards on, that can never be undone, life-altering surgeries on children for trans children, supposedly. Well, they're now denying accusations that they were promoting that after they've deleted all the videos from their website. Hey, Cardinal Marc Ouellet, the prefect of the Dicastery for bishops, was accused of sexual assault in a civil suit filed against the Archdiocese of Quebec. It included, I think, over 100 testimonies, not just on him, but on all sexual abuse cases going back to, I think, 1940 or something like that. Planned Parenthood dumps a record number, $150 million into the midterm elections. They want to be sure to provide, quote, the health and the lives of pregnant people, close quote. Pregnant people, huh? Interesting. I thought only women could get pregnant. Silly me. Good morning to you, Rudy Carlos.
Good morning, Joe. It is a fantastic day.
Is it?
I'm excited for the weekend, by the way.
Why? What's on your agenda?
Well, I don't know. It's just going to be nice, don't you think?
Oh, I have a to-do list for you this weekend, so my weekend's going to be great. Yours may be a little packed.
What are you going to call the list? The Rudy-Do list?
The Rudy-Do list.
Rudy?
I like this.
Rudy!
This is brilliant, the Rudy-Do list.
How many times have I told you?
The Rudy, that's great. I'm going to coin that. It's praise be to God. Well, hopefully you'll have a good weekend nonetheless.
Yeah, in spite of it all. I think I will. I think maybe I'll wake up early, as I do, and maybe go out and look at some birds or something.
What's the latest you sleep in on the weekend?
The latest I can sleep in is 30 minutes. So I wake up at
3:30 a.m.
Yeah, like 4. So I wake up at 4
on the weekend
every day. Yeah.
Wow. Even I'm not that bad.
I just can't change the schedule. Otherwise, it's hard to get back on.
I can easily see that. Speaking of which, Adrian Fonseca's here. Good morning to you, sunshine. Welcome to the world. What time do you get out of bed?
Normally. Today I got up at 3.
What time do you get up on Saturday?
On Saturday, I guess it depends on the weekend. A lot of Saturdays I'm doing things, but if I'm not doing anything, then 9.
9. Yeah, see, that's my style right there. Yeah, but if I don't have to get up, man.
If I don't have to get up, I'll sleep all day, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I'm and if on a good Saturday, if I'm doing nothing on Saturday, I'll wake up late, mosey around, and then take a nap.
Man, my kids let me sleep until like 11 one time. And I'm like,
I can't sleep to 11.
I said, what is
I'd have
wrong?
to get up, but then I could take a nap later, though.
I'm like, well, who lets their father sleep till 11? What's wrong with you children?
Yeah, my daughter doesn't allow that because in our house we believe in Maria law.
That's right.
You may have heard of Sharia law, but no,
Maria law.
we do Maria law.
That's
I
right.
hear that's worse.
Praise be to God. All right. Nonetheless, we have a great show to get into, so do share us with a friend today. But let's pray and let's begin. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thine intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. And now your headlines with Rudy Carlos.
Good morning. Thanks for tuning in to Catholic Drive Time. Today is Thursday, August 18th, and here are your headlines this morning. This one is from The Blaze. The headline goes, Planned Parenthood prepares for midterm elections and plans on spending $50 million on campaigns and outreach. The company plans to focus funds on gubernatorial races in states where Republican candidates are running on the premise of ending abortion. Those key states include Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Planned Parenthood expressed concern that pro-life advocates may attempt a nationwide abortion ban in the future. Therefore, it plans on promoting pro-abortion candidates running for U.S. Senate. Amy Kennedy, a spokesperson for Planned Parenthood Votes in Georgia, said, "For us, this really is the most important election cycle of our life," which is pretty ironic, isn't it? The Daily Caller reports, China to send troops to Russia for joint military exercise. Chinese troops will travel to Russia to engage in a joint military exercise along with other countries including India, Belarus, Mongolia, and Tajikistan. Personnel from China's People's Liberation Army are expected to travel to Russia to take part in the Vostok War Games, which are exercises that haven't been held since 2018, according to Reuters. And Sky News reports RAF pauses job offers for white men to meet impossible diversity target. The head of the RAF, which is the Royal Air Force out across the pond, has resigned in protest of an effective pause on offering jobs to white male recruits in favor of women and ethnic minorities, defense sources have claimed. The defense sources accuse Air Chief Marshal Sir Mike Wigston, the head of the RAF, of appearing willing to compromise UK security at a time of growing threats from Russia and China in pursuit of improving diversity and inclusion. And LifeSite reports LGBT group Men Having Babies backs Democrat bill funding surrogate children for same-sex couples. If passed, H.R. 8190 would eliminate IRS regulations that prohibit tax credits or deductions for medical fees incurred for surrogacy. The group Men Having Babies lauded the bill as a step forward for so-called fertility equality, which the New York Times described in a 2020 article as a movement formed around the idea that one's ability to build a family should not be determined by wealth, sexuality, gender, or biology. And those were your headline news this morning. God love you.
The saint of the day is Blessed Amo Taparelli. He born in 1395 at Savigliano, Perdomont, Italy. His name means defends the house with the sword. He is known as the tireless defender of the truth. Amo first pursued a career in law and was married and a father, but soon became a widower and mourning both the death of his wife and his children, multiple. He felt the call to religious life, and to this end, he studied at Turin, graduating in theology and sacred scripture. Embracing complete self-denial, he entered the order of preachers of Savigliano at 441 at San Domenico Convent. From his earliest years, he engaged in an intense apostolate. He was a worthy son of St. Dominic. For the effectiveness of his sermons and for the austerity of his life, when the clear fame of his virtues reached the Savoy court, Duke Amerio IX wanted him to be his chaplain and confessor. He was then appointed professor at the University of Turin. He returned to, and when he was appointed as Inquisitor General for his order in the Lombard and Lingran regions. He was appointed as such to replace the murdered Father Bartolome Cerveri. He carried out this delicate task with care and tireless preservation of the Catholic faith. He's strengthened by the examples of his previous confreres in this role who had suffered martyrdom in carrying out this mission. In 1468, he became superior of his convent and then prior of it in 1483. He was confirmed twice as the Inquisitor General in 1483 and in 1489. And finally, he was appointed as the provincial vicar. As he defended the values of Catholicism, his zeal in restoring and confirming discipline within the order was equal. So much so that he is remembered among the most ardent reformers of the 15th century. He promoted the cult of the Mother of God, towards whom he always nourished deep devotion. In 1495, at almost 100 years of age, the angels warned him that he would die on the feast of the glorious Assumption of the Virgin. In bed, reciting the office, he pressed the crucifix to his heart, and having received the sacraments, he expired saying, "To serve God is to reign." The friars in choir read the introit of the solemn mass. With difficulty, they removed the crucifix from his hands, while a crowd had already gathered at the convent. Two extraordinary miracles are well remembered: the healing of a woman's mother from cancer and the conception of a child in old age of a couple believed to be sterile. At the beginning of the 19th century, his remains were brought to St. Dominic Church in Turin. Pope Pius IX, on the 29th of May, 1856, approved the cult, setting its memorial of the Blessed Aimo for 17th of August, which date is still honored in Savigliano. Blessed Aimo Taparelli, pray for us.
Praise be to God in all things. The gospel today comes to us from Matthew chapter 22, verses 1 through 14. Jesus again in reply spoke to the chief priests and the elders of the people in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven may be likened to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son. He dispatched his servants to summon the invited guests to the feast, but they refused to come. A second time he sent other servants, saying, 'Tell those invited, behold, I have prepared my banquet. My calves and fatted cattle are killed, and everything is ready. Come to the feast.' Some ignored the invitation and went away. One to his farm, another to his business. The rest laid hold of his servants, mistreated them, and killed them. The king was enraged and sent his troops, destroyed those murderers, and burned their city. Then the king said to his servants, 'The feast is ready, but those who were invited were not worthy to come. Go out, therefore, into the main roads, and invite to the feast whomever you find.' The servants went out into the streets and gathered all they found, bad and good alike, and the hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to meet the guests, he saw a man there not dressed in a wedding garment. He said to him, 'My friend, how is it that you came in here without a wedding garment?' But he was reduced to silence. Then the king said to the attendants, 'Bind his hand and feet, and cast him into the darkness outside, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth. Many are invited, but few are chosen.'" The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Not having a wedding garment, by this one person are represented all sinners void of the grace of God. That's Haydock's commentary today. Also quoting St. Chrysostom, who said, "To enter with unclean garments is to depart out of this life in the guilt of sin. For those are no less guilty of manifesting a contempt for the deity who presume to sit down in the filth of an unclean conscience than those who neglected to answer the invitations of the Almighty. He is said to be silent because, having nothing in advance to his defense, he remains self-condemned and is hurried away to torments, the horrors of which words can never express." Close quote, St. Chrysostom. He is invited. He sent the fathers, Moses and Abraham. He sent the prophets, Isaiah, Elijah, and more. And he has sent his only begotten Son, and the apostles as well. He's sent plenty of people. He's made the calls. They've been beaten, mistreated, and killed. And still he invites. But unless we repent and reconcile with God, we will not have a clean conscience to which we can enjoy the banquet of the Lord. So let us make frequent use of the sacrament of reconciliation and the Holy Eucharist. We'll be right back.
Over the years, people were treated as less than human because they were a different race, a different faith, or vulnerable. But over time, we must learn that we are all God's children, created in His image, that all human creation has an inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, a right to love and be loved. So let's cherish the sanctity of life, because we know how it feels when others treat us as less than human.
Some Protestants like to charge the Catholic Church with changing the Ten Commandments because it omits the prohibition of making graven images found in Exodus 20. But is this true? No, and here's the reason why. Like Augustine, the Catholic Church sees the prohibition of making graven images as merely an extension of the first commandment, "You shall have no other gods before me." In light of the context, it seems that Augustine was right, for immediately after God prohibits the making of graven images, he says in verse 5, "You shall not bow down to them or serve them." The prohibition is against idolatry, not the making of images in an absolute sense. So the Catholic Church didn't change the Ten Commandments, and it's not guilty of idolatry and having statues in its places of worship. I'm Carlo Broussard with a ready reason for Catholic Answers, Catholic.com.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to Catholic Drive Time, keeping you informed and inspired. I'm your host, Joe McLean. So good to be on with you. Praise be to God. If you've listened to the show for any length of time, then you've probably heard me rant on more than one occasion about college, university. It's a difficult thing. I've had many criticisms for higher education going back to when I was in college. I was like, this is a rigged system. Well, we've invited Dr. Michael Robillard on. He is the co-author of a book. Timothy Gordon is the other author of this book. It's called Don't Go to College, A Case for a Revolution. And we're going to have a conversation why parents ought to consider carefully when and where and how and why to send their kids off to college. Or if you are of college age and you're considering it, maybe you ought to think twice. We're going to have that conversation with Dr. Michael Robillard at 35 past the hour. So join us if you can, and do share us with a friend. There are, as I say, lots of stories in the news that are of great concern to me, and I'm sure they are to you as well. And I saw a couple of stories today that did get my attention. The first one is the Swiss bishops. Now, this was out of the Deutsch version of CNA. Translated into English, the headline says, Swiss bishops publish report for World Synod. And I was reading this article today, and it's very short. I'll read it to you in just a second. It's short, but it's a little, like, you have to read between the lines a little bit here. And unfortunately, that's just par for the course these days, because a lot of the conversation, a lot of the statements, a lot of the documents that are produced within the church have sort of like circular language and ambiguity and vagueness. And you're just like, what? You got to read it 10 times to really wrap your head around what exactly did they just say? And I'm wondering if the get out of jail free card isn't hidden inside this statement. And let me see what you think about it. But let's read this to you first. It says, on Monday, the Swiss Bishops' Conference published its report for the World Synod on Synodality, which began in 2021 and is scheduled to conclude in October 2023 with a General Assembly of the Synod of Bishops. Quote, the Swiss Synodal Assembly, which took place May 30th, 2022, has finalized the report on the basis of comments and requests for adjustments, close quote. Adjustments. We want some adjustments. All right, okay. Well, what are we talking about here? Article goes on to say, this assembly had the task of summarizing the reports that emerged from the diocesan phase of the synod into a national overall report. Okay, this is common. Most every, sort of conference of bishops around the world are all putting out these similar reports. And you might recall a couple of weeks ago, we read that report. I think it was Out of the Pillar, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it was Out of the Pillar that looked at how much participation all of these synodal subcommittee processes, hearing, listening sessions had. It was incredibly low, actually, all across the world, very low participation in the process. But nonetheless, the article goes on to say, in Switzerland, the debates and the synodal questionnaires have increased awareness of the importance of baptism for the life of the church. Close quote. It said in a statement, going on to say, quote, it has been emphasized that a synodal church increasingly recognizes the royal, priestly, and prophetic dignity and calling of the baptized, close quote. That to me sounds like the get-out-of-jail-free card. You see, we just need to recognize the dignity of baptism in every person. On the surface, what's wrong with that statement? I mean, like, who couldn't agree that, I mean, like, golly gee whiz, we know that in baptism you receive the indelible mark, and if you were to go to hell because you chose to die in a state of mortal sin rather than the friendship of God, as they would say, then you would go to hell and be tormented, especially because of that indelible mark of baptism on your soul. So we know you get transformed in baptism, and we know that that has a dignity to it, praise be to God, but what do they mean by that? The article goes on to say 2 points were particularly emphasized, namely, quote, overcoming the experience that many people are excluded from full participation in the life of the church, close quote. Yeah, I know a lot of people right now in Chicago, for instance, who have been protesting up there because they've been excluded from full participation in the life of the church. Maybe not the same group of people or Catholics that maybe the Swiss bishops are thinking about, but nonetheless, they're Catholics and they would like more full participation up there. Let's pray that His Eminence, Cardinal Supich, will hear their concerns and meet them where they're at. That would be pretty darn amazing. The article goes on to say, also a critical examination of the, quote, clericalism that still exists in some cases, close quote. It is emphasized that synodality can only succeed if, quote, clericalism is overcome and an understanding of the priesthood increasingly develops as an element that promotes the life of a more synodally oriented church, close quote. How many versions of the word synod are we going to have to come up with and invent before this whole process is over with?
At least 10.
I think we're at 10 now.
Oh, at least double that then, 20.
I struggle to read English just in general.
The Synod on Synodality and Synodal.
Yeah, exactly. We should keep a running count of how many versions. How many times are we going to decline the word synod in English? I thought that wasn't a thing, but I guess
I got
it
a
is.
synod for your synod so you could talk about synods.
Preach it, brother. Preach it. Well, clericalism. See, that's a very confusing statement. What does this mean? If clericalism is overcome and an understanding of the priesthood increasingly develops, you're saying in 2,000 years we've not figured out what the priesthood means? I'm super confused by that. I was pretty sure we understood what we've had plenty of councils and documents and catechisms and canon law. We've had lots of documents. I mean, oceans worth of ink, forests full of paper has been used to discuss things like bishops, priests, and deacons. And nonetheless, I guess we still don't understand what all of that is supposed to mean. I mean, it's hard to know what these statements sometimes mean. Article goes on to say, in connection with the topic of clericalism, the 11-page report states, quote, criticism of the exercise of power by officials is sparked by the observation of clerical mentality, the abuse of power, the ignorance of the realities of life and culture in Switzerland, the devaluation of women, and the rejection of people from the LGBTIAQ asterisk. I never heard of an asterisk before. That's new. I thought it was a plus, but I guess it's now an asterisk. The spectrum, as they say, the retreat into individual concepts of identity from being a priest, a lack of attention for the people, a disinterest for the poor, etc., close quote. All right. Well, again, I think this is the get out of jail free card. If we just recognize the dignity of baptism in all people, then we can ignore most everything else. I don't think so. One is baptized, they're transformed, they're made into Catholic. You aren't born Catholic, in spite of all cradle Catholics saying so. You are never born Catholic. You are made Catholic. You enter into the body of Christ. You become a member through baptism. Right? Praise be to God. We all understand that now. But that doesn't mean that it's all over with. You have to live and abide in the Lord. You have to maintain a state of grace. And that requires a constant battle with yourself. It requires spiritual combat until the moment that you are no longer alive on this earth. When you enter into eternity and face your judgment, you must constantly be at war with yourself, your disordered passions, your concupiscent nature. So it is very confusing language. And then they talk about clericalism. And I wonder if they have taken into consideration, like in Switzerland, for instance, just to use an example, like bishops and cardinals meeting there and plotting and planning how to manipulate, papal elections. I mean, is that a form of clericalism? I'm just curious if you call the St. Gallen Mafia, their words, not mine, as clericalism, because it sure would seem to be the case for me. Adrian?
Yeah, one thing, and I know I'm not the first person to say this, and I probably won't be the last, but I just find it very amusing in a sense, because in the same breath, the people will say, okay, we have to avoid clericalism. And true, there is such thing as true clericalism, but in the same breath, we'll have letters from Pope Francis coming down saying, dictating what we can and can't put in bulletins. And so that's what clericalism is.
It's micromanaging.
It's micromanaging. Yeah. And so the Pope really should not be dictating what's in your parish bulletin. But
I'm sure he's got better things to do.
Exactly. He's got better things to do. And so that's the basic principle of Catholic social teaching is a subsidiarity. We should deal with the smaller things at the small level and the bigger things at a larger level.
Amen.
So we should not have to. That's what I think. That's why I find amusing when they talk about clericalism, but in the same breath, we're having these bishops and the Pope and Rome infiltrating, or not infiltrating, but exerting their power over into people's dioceses and even local parishes.
Exactly. Our CDT insider and good friend Clarissa over on our Telegram group, our private CDT chat Telegram group, is asking exactly what is the definition of clericalism? Great question, Clarissa. Great question. Yeah, we don't know either. Neither does this article make it clear, or the statement 11-page document from the Swiss bishops. That is part of the problem. It is circular and ambiguous language that lacks clarity, and the lay folk are scratching their head, which is why 99.9% of all humanity, to include every Catholic, will probably just ignore everything and just keep moving on. And they'll get to do whatever they're going to do, and it'll just be whatever it is. And we'll have to live with the fallout after. That's part of the problem, I would argue. It would be nice to have clarity, but we simply aren't given that luxury at this time. So that is, I think, the get-out-of-jail-free card. And what gets me is, okay, not once in this statement is there a talk of evangelization of the whole wide world. Not once is there conversation about, the need, the desire to fulfill the one mission Christ has given to us. We act as though we don't care about the poor. Are you kidding me? I mean, St. Teresa of Calcutta cared about the poor. She didn't need a synod on synodality to care about the poor. She fed 10,000 people every day on the streets of Calcutta, her and all of her sisters. And her sisters continue to care about the poor, as well as thousands of other great Catholics in our church today who care about the poor, the downtrodden, the lost, the weak, those excluded. It is happening every single day in the church. So I don't understand where we get this notion that we somehow don't care about these people. We, in fact, do, and we always have. I wonder if what the great saints would say about the lack of actual desire, language, intention to evangelize the world. About St. Jerome, St. Augustine, St. Francis Xavier, Junipero Serra, for instance, who would beat his breast with a rock when he preached and walked 20,000 miles in his lifetime in order to reach the indigenous peoples, to baptize them, to bring them into the family of God, to help them to achieve eternity because he loved them that much. I mean, it's just mind-blowing to me how we have decided that we are going to talk about things like the poor and the marginalized and the LGBTQ and all this other stuff and ignore the bigger issues. I mean, we can evangelize the world and still embrace people who have disordered passions and want the best for them and bring them into the fold. I mean, it's not either or, it's both and. And it seems like we are picking one and excluding the other, and that is a major problem. Here's what St. Paul said to Timothy. He says, I charge you in the presence of God and of Christ Jesus, who is to judge the living and the dead, and by his appearing and his kingdom, preach the word. Be urgent in season and out of season. Convince, rebuke, and exhort by unfailing in patience. Be unfailing in patience and in teaching. For the time is coming when people will not endure sound teaching, but have itching ears. They will accumulate for themselves teachers suited for their own life.
Instead of fighting the crowds, isn't it so much easier to hop online and do your shopping in the comfort of your own home? Did you know that you can help the Guadalupe Radio Network when you shop online? All you need to do is shop on Amazon Smile, and 0.5% of your purchase goes to the GRN. Just go to AmazonSmile.com and select La Promesa Foundation as your nonprofit of choice. La Promesa is the parent company of Guadalupe Radio. It's that simple to give a little extra help to the Guadalupe Radio Network.
This is Dale Ahlquist with a Chesterton Minute. Have you ever heard someone say, what's wrong for you may be right for someone else? And besides, what's right and wrong changes like everything else. You can't fight these things. You have to just go with the flow. G.K. Chesterton says, right is right, even if nobody does it. And wrong is wrong, even if everybody is wrong about it. Right and wrong are not based on fashion and personal preferences, and not on the calendar. They're based on the laws of God, on eternal truth that does not change. And as for going with the flow, G.K. Chesterton says, a dead thing goes with the stream. Only a living thing can go against it. Want more than a minute? Visit us at chesterton.org.
Welcome back to Catholic Drive Time, keeping you informed and inspired. And now more headlines. The Daily Wire reports California Appeals Court overturns $300,000 in fines against a church over COVID-19 noncompliance. Judge Peter Kerwin ruled in favor of Calvary Chapel, San Jose in a 36-page ruling on Monday. In October 2020, the plaintiffs, including the people of the state of California, the county of Santa Clara, and the county health officer, Sarah Cody, alleged that Calvary Chapel had failed to comply with the state's orders. The violations included failure to submit a plan for risk reduction and holding indoor religious services during the year of 2020. The organization noted that Santa Clara County was the first county to issue a shelter-in-place order and had implemented an aggressive fine system. The county sought $2.87 million in COVID fines from the church, even though the Supreme Court had admonished California 5 times and had highlighted that the orders, as applied to the churches, were in violation of the First Amendment. And GB News reports cyclists could be forced to get number plates. If you don't know what a number plate is, it's a license plate. And insurance as part of new road laws. Across the pond over in England, the Transport Secretary has flagged changing road laws so cyclists have to abide by a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit or face penalties. This is less than a fortnight after vowing to create a death by dangerous cycling law that will treat killer cyclists the same as motorists. Among other things proposed were license plates for bikes. Maybe you'd have to get a license to ride your bike there. And Breitbart reports citizens flip car to rescue a trapped driver. People here just care. A group of concerned citizens came together to rescue a driver from a dangerous situation on Monday in San Antonio, Texas. The video footage showed multiple people working in the rain to flip the car back on its wheels. The scene unfolded on a median as other cars and trucks passed on the nearby road. Once the car was back on the right side, the group knew they had to rescue the person still in the driver's seat. Break it! Break it! Someone behind the camera said as one man was seen holding what appeared to be a tool. According to a person on the scene, the driver was unconscious when the emergency crews arrived to assist. The person's condition was not immediately reported. Pray for that person. And those were your headline news this morning.
Praise be to God in all things. Thank you, Rudy. Sorry to cut you off there.
No problem.
By the way, tomorrow I will be sending out the CDT Insider email. So if you're on the inside, praise be to God. Thank you for being on the list. And every week I look for something to send your way. Last week I sent that movie, St. Joan of Arc, which we watched as a family over the weekend. So good. Ingrid Bergman, man, it was great. Especially, and the timing was perfect because that I, Joan thing was out and, they were hijacking St. Joan of Arc and trying to use her as some sort of LGBT thing, and nothing further could be the truth. Nothing further from the. How's that turn of phrase go? Nothing further from the truth. Nothing can be further from the truth.
Yeah, that's the one.
Nothing further can be from the truth, right? That's how it goes. Okay, there we go. Nothing further can be from the truth. Just edit everything else I said before. Because she gave her life in complete obedience, in spite of the fact that she was hated, she was chastised, she was tortured, she was abused, and eventually she was judged by a bishop of the church, as well as Dominicans. Adrian, shame on you, bro. Dominicans judged her, condemned her, excommunicated her, and then burned her at the stake, and still we call her a saint today.
Yeah, she was canonically irregular. Go figure.
Yeah. So, great movie. If you didn't get that, you can email me and ask me. I'll send you the link. If you're not on our email list, you ought to get on our email list. I harass the CDT insiders at least once a week for some special goodies. So I'll send you a sort of a recap of what we did all week long. I send you some content that we broke up from the show, and then I send you like entertainment of the week. And I sent the St. Joan of Arc thing as entertainment of the week this last week, and really good film. And it's free to watch. It's good stuff. There's a couple of scenes I skipped there for the little ones, just because it was made like in the 40s or early 50s or something. So I just used the remote and skipped a couple things, but really good family time. So to join our CDT Insider email list, all you got to do is go to our website, grnonline.com/CDT. And you can look for the CDT Insider email, and you can click that link. It takes just a moment to get on the list, and I'll send you that free talk by Father Bill Casey, the Fathers of Mercy, just as a thank you for signing up and letting me harass you in your inbox at least once a month. So again, that's grnonline.com/CDT. The other way is to pull out your cell phone and give us a text. All you got to do is text the letters GRN to the number 42828. So if you text the number 42828 and you put in GRN in the chat and you text that, it'll go straight to our email inbox. You will get signed up. Takes, again, just a moment. Super easy. Again, that's text GRN to the number 42828 to get on the CDT Insider email list. That'll go out tomorrow afternoon. Joining us right now via Zoom chat is Dr. Michael Robillard. He is an independent scholar, philosopher, an Iraq war veteran. He has held prior academic appointments at the University of Notre Dame, the University of Oxford, and the U.S. Naval Academy. His past writings have focused on issues concerning civil-military relations, veterans issues, the ethics of automated technology, free speech in academia. He is also a devout Roman Catholic, praise be to God, an American, and a patriot. He's also the co-author of a book called Don't Go to College, A Case for Revolution with Timothy Gordon, and he joins us now. Good morning to you, Mr. Robillard.
Morning. Thanks for having me on.
You only have one downside in your life, and that is the fact that you joined the Army knowing full well that the Marine Corps did exist. So I shall pray for your soul.
Yeah. I must have not got the memo, I suppose. But yeah.
You and my father and my father's father, my uncle, cousins, all of you. I don't understand. The Marine Corps is the better option, but nonetheless, you decided to go to West Point. So I don't know. At any rate, you had the rest of your life to do penance. Let's talk about college instead. You have a PhD. You've taught in academia. I mean, highest levels, some would argue. And you're co-authoring a book that says, don't go to college?
Yeah. It's one of these cases, I suppose, where both myself and Timothy Gordon, we know whereof we speak. You know, we're not outsiders throwing rocks at a institution that we don't understand. Rather, we're insiders that watch the institution that we love essentially become corrupted to the point where we had to exit and then warn people of the corruption that's inside.
I think a lot of parents feel very pressured, and I'm speaking of just parents that I know. Their kid gets to become 18, and they've got to send them off to college, because we all know if you don't go to college, you will not amount to anything in life. So they feel this pressure. They especially want their kids to go to their alma mater or a great university, and they send them off. And too often, the results can be very tragic, couldn't they?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, there's this persistent narrative within mainstream American culture that a flourishing life is wholly dependent upon getting the credentialing degrees that a college or university gives you. And that generates a particular amount of anxiety, both in parents and young Americans, to get those credentialing degrees. But in the process, people, they're not paying attention to the content of knowledge and lack of critical thinking that is now being encouraged at these universities, and has been for some time. And in the last 5 years in particular, with the rise of so-called wokeism, the curriculum that's at colleges now, it's absolutely hobbling to one's flourishing as well as critical thinking capacities.
What do you see as the greatest threat in higher education today?
I would say the transgender movement in particular, right? So you have wokeism or intersectionality, which is the larger idea of that everyone's an aggrieved victim, everyone is oppressed along some sort of intersectional hierarchy of victim hierarchy. And then the tip of the spear is transgenderism, where these folks conflate the notions of biological sex, socially constructed gender, and personally determined gender identity. And then they run all these concepts together under the same heading of gender. And it's like a linguistic shell game or three-card Monty, where you can't even get them to pin down an explicit definition, as Catholic political commentator Matt Walsh has pointed out. These folks, they can't even determine or define the term woman. And if that is the foundation upon which students are organizing their world, then that society is doomed to incoherence and failure.
You know, when it comes to this, I have criticisms of higher education actually on a more practical level, but on this issue, it gets me that we're paying top dollar for this education. I mean, you're hustling hard to get your kid or to just get admitted into one of these major universities. I mean, here in Texas, University of Texas, UT Austin. I mean, it's almost impossible to really be an outsider trying to get into that university. You have to transfer in later. You're not going to get in as a freshman. So a lot of these universities are hard to get into. They're incredibly expensive, and we're paying top dollar, but the kid has to go there and sort fact from fiction and manipulation and pay for it. Hold that thought. We're up against a very short break here. Dr. Michael Robillard is our guest, co-author of Don't Go to College, A Case for Revolution, published by Regnery. We're going to continue this conversation on the other side of the break. Is college lost forever, or is there a way to fix all of this? What if your kid really has to go to college, called to be a doctor, a lawyer, something like that? We're going to conversate about all of that on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. Be right back.
Hello, this is Steve Gleason with your 1-minute tool for Catholic evangelism. Here's the question for your non-Catholic friend. Are you lured by the half-century-old shift in Christianity that hails, I am supposed to be blessed with all my needs met, including excellent health, upward financial abundance, and sidestepping any adverse circumstance? Well, here's your 3 best friendship tools for Catholic evangelism. Number 1, sand or rock. Your prosperity church or your megachurch is offering you vanishing fantasies. Tens of millions are reaching for the lures that tickle a natural human quest for life with no heartaches. That is not Christianity as described by Jesus and the apostles. Secondly, there's 73 books, not just 73 individual verses of a dream life. God's merciful action in our life brings us into seasons that are not pleasant. We all struggle with expectations like, take up your cross and follow me. We just can't skirt it. This is a very real part of Christianity. St. Paul said in multiple places, what he suffered as loss, he counted as rubbish in order that he might gain Christ. And thirdly, my take on the lives of the saints. Bluntly said, more went wrong than went right, except at the end. And isn't that what counts? Find me online at Smarty Pants Catholic Evangelism.
Hi, this is Dr. David Anders from EWTN's Call to Communion. I believe that the ministry of Catholic radio is one of the greatest tools we have in the Church for evangelism today. I hear from people all over the world on a daily basis who have encountered Christ in the Catholic Church for the first time by listening to Catholic radio. please support the ministry of Catholic Radio today. Support Guadalupe Radio Network.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to Catholic Drive Time, keeping you informed and inspired. I'm your host, Joe McClain. So good to be on with you. Dr. Michael Robillard is our guest, co-author of a couple of books. One is called Don't Go to College, A Case for Revolution. By the way, real quick, he's got another book out about the military and those who serve. And I really want to talk to you about that at some point. So we're going to have you back. I served in the Marine Corps, my family, all veterans. So I would love to have that conversation with you as a follow-up. But right now we're talking about college, the issues with the college system. And right before the break, I was saying we pay top dollar. We work hard to get in or get our kids into some of these universities. And then we still have to, even though we're paying a premium, sort fact from fiction. How hard is it for the average freshman, sophomore, junior to really be that discerning with these professors?
I think they're really entering into a space where they're at a tremendous asymmetric disadvantage, and this is for a variety. One is, even if people aren't necessarily going out of the way to major in, let's say, anthropology or women's studies or lit crit, where, you know, the majority of wokeism and intersectional ideology is found, there's still a baseline that within that milieu that is established by so many other students that are taking those majors. So even if they're sticking strictly to a STEM course, for instance, they're still going to be immersed within subculture that is laden with those values. Second of all, the administration is really on board with these ideas as well. And then, you know, it's not overt, but it's subtle in a million little death by paper cuts ways, whether it's pronouns in emails or mandatory diversity, inclusion, and equity classes, or keychain lanyards that have rainbow flags or rainbow coloring on them. It's these little nudging things that in aggregate essentially it harbors a complicity towards the ideology of intersectionality, which is it's antithetical to Christianity and to the founding tenets of American patriotism. So those are the waters that students will be swimming in, regardless of what major they opt into. And then the other feature is so many of the conservative or what is left of conservative professors, they're actually scared of the students. They're actually paranoid that the students are going to come after them and that they're hunting for scalps. So a lot of conservative professors, and we note this in the book, they're actually closeted conservative professors keeping their head down, walking on eggshells, scared of the students or the student mob deplatforming, canceling them, etc. So as students enter into college, they're not seeing any type of exemplar of a conservative professor standing up or offering any philosophical counterposition to the ideology that is omnipresent in their other classes.
You know, Doc, we're Catholics, so we have an understanding of sin, and we do our very best to get ourselves outside of the near occasion of sin. But it seems that sending your kids to college is exactly that. You're putting them in the near occasion of sin by what you just outlined. I'm wondering if you have a sort of a timeline, because hindsight's 20/20, right? So the other day I was watching a show, and the show had a scene of college, and it seemed to me as if it was a very progressive-looking college, and this was like in the 90s. I'm wondering if you have like a timeline of when these institutions were compromised.
Yes, we do. So my co-author Tim Gordon has a good breakdown of this, and we can look at the start of the Enlightenment begins the first crack in the dam, and the removal of final causality and Aristotelianism from the Western mind and the Western conception of higher education. So we can start at the French Revolution there. Another key point is at Niagara with the advent of feminism. So now we have a concept that's generating fissures within the family unit. That bakes for about 100 years. Then in the 60s in particular, this is now you see the proto-neo-Marxist ideas of Gramsci and the Frankfurt School that were cooked up in the 30s beginning to inhabit the universities. And this gained steam with the sexual liberation, the sexual revolution of the 60s and 70s with gay rights. And that moves its way through the 70s and 80s. The 90s, you see the intimations of what at the time was still gay rights, but then also intimations of transvestitism. And then in the last 5 years or so, transvestitism gets memory hold, and you don't even hear the term transvestite anymore. It's just if a man puts on a dress, therefore he is a woman in all regards. And that really began emerging maybe 2015. So that only took 5 years to really emerge. So you see this logarithmic function of things picking up speed, where small errors in our thinking and in our conceptual framework, generations back, are now amounting to civilizational collapsing.
Yeah, it's like an avalanche.
Yeah. So, but the cracks in the dam, the first crack that we recognize as being the most fundamental one is the movement into the Enlightenment and the removal of Aristotelianism from higher education.
It's interesting. There's about a dozen things that could follow up with. But, one thing, I have this discussion quite often about universities. I went to university. I would like to pursue higher degrees, and so people say, "Oh, Adrian, why do you say that? And if you want to go back to college, why do you say people shouldn't go to college?" Well, I'm speaking generally, and the other thing that I hear a lot from a lot of parents, people my parents' age or older, is, "Oh, I want my kids to have that old college try, to get the college experience." And I find that to be just not very good. But I just wanted to bring that point up. But the question I have for you is, how do we overcome this credentialism? Because I think a lot of parents have a legitimate concern saying, I want my kids to have a job, but if you want to get a job, you have to have a degree, even though practically speaking, you don't actually need a degree, or I guess theoretically speaking, you don't actually need a degree to do the job. But practically speaking, they won't even look at you if you don't have a degree. And I'm looking at the top 20 most popular majors. I'm thinking about if you're a computer science or communications, like our field right here, and even business and management, nursing, even some of these jobs, most of them can be taught or learned by just being an apprentice, by taking on this job and learning it hands-on in the field. And so how do we overcome this field of credentialism where you can't even get your foot in the door unless you go to college and get a degree?
Exactly. Yeah, that's I think the big issue here, right, is where the universities used to be forming character and virtue and giving people actual knowledge. Now they've become largely these credentialing mills, and that's the point of going to college for a lot of folks, is to get the $100,000, $150,000 piece of paper that says you jump through all the hoops. And that is the problem. And I totally agree with you. I think that what people need is more hands-on experience, apprenticeship, and real-world experience as the lights by which they navigate, as opposed to these credentialing degrees that might give you the degree, but then they hollow out your character and your critical thinking process. So we suggest, radically defunding, or agitating to defund a lot of these state schools that are in these woke programs where taxpayer money is funding these pernicious ideologies. And I think that, that's at least one way to begin trying to salvage what remains of the university system. We also steer people to the Newman List, to Hillsdale, to the academies, to some other non-woke Christian Aristotelian schools, where if you must go to college, these are ones that haven't drank the Kool-Aid. So those are some of the hedges that we do make. If people are dead set on college, we at least point them away from the cliff that they might be going off of.
I wish we had more time. We're actually running out of time now, down to just the last couple of minutes with Dr. Robillard. You mentioned the academies. The Air Force Academy has got some woke issues for sure that it's been dealing with a lot of time. And introducing Wiccan was a big problem for them several years back. But nonetheless, how do we fix the college system? Is it fixable? Can we turn this thing around? Can we save the university higher education system, or is just put a fork in it, it's done?
Yeah, this is the question. So John Searle, the good philosopher at Berkeley, he makes the claim that there's two types of objects. There are physical objects and social objects. Physical object would be something like a shirt. The more I use it, the more it weakens. The social object would be something like currency. So the more I use dollar, the more legitimacy or strength I give to it. So the more we use objects, the more grant legitimacy to social objects, social institutions, the stronger they get. So we're in a situation where it's like, yes, we do want universities, we want higher education, but how do we do so in a way where we're not legitimizing these poisons and these poisonous ideologies that have attached themselves and will strengthen as we send more minds, more bodies, more money to them. So that's the issue. And I think for now, the strategy needs to be one of embargo and starving the beast, and considering getting back to the trades, starting families early, staying local, being entrepreneurs, being autodidacts, teaching oneself any number of ideas and sources of knowledge that are online. I think starving the beast for now needs to be the first method, as opposed to sending money and citizens off to these mills to get completely brainwashed. That's our opinion. That's the point of the book.
Vote with your feet. Just don't send your kid anywhere because it looks good on paper, right? Heaven is the goal, not a good job. So maybe the good job has to happen, but you don't get to heaven. It's pointless. Praise be to God. Michael Robillard, thank you for your time today. We're very grateful to you. We enjoyed this conversation. We'd love to have you back soon to talk about your other book. The book is called Don't Go to College, A Case for Revolution. It's published by Regnery. You can find more information on their website at regnery.com. That's regnery.com. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of Catholic Drive Time. If you can join us in the second hour, I'm going to share with you from bigpulpit.com an article by Monsignor Charles Pope on the stages of persecution. That's coming up next. Otherwise, we'll see you back here tomorrow. Until then, God love you.
Hello, this is Steve Gleason with your 1-minute tool for Catholic evangelism. Here's the question for your non-Catholic friend. According to 1 Corinthians 11, receiving communion in an unworthy manner can result in sickness and or death. If communion is simply wafer and juice as opposed to body and blood, doesn't the possibility of sickness and death just seem a little over the top? So here's the 3 best friendship tools for Catholic evangelism. First off, in the Bread of Life discourse in John 6, Jesus says, "He that eats my flesh and drinks my blood dwells in me, and I in him." Note, he said drink my blood. He did not say drink my wine or grape juice. Well, no commentary needed there. Secondly, you gonna walk? The disciples did not walk away from Jesus over a symbolic teaching of body and blood. They walked over how literally Jesus was teaching them. Also, they did not walk over the idea that feeding on Christ's body and blood is feeding on the Bible. No, no, no. And thirdly, your new response. My Catholic friend, when you are asked, hey, have you received Christ? Your answer is yes, every Sunday at Mass. That's how I know objectively that Christ is in me.
I had a personal experience that was life-changing for me. My husband of 21 years decided to leave our family, me and my girls, and in the midst midst of the absolute horrible heartache, I happened to be flipping through the radio one day on the AM channel because I didn't feel like listening to music, and I happened to find Catholic radio. And ever since then, I have been tuned in religiously, and I feel like I have a really, really strong pull to the Catholic faith.
The Guadalupe Radio Network would like to thank those listeners who have supported Catholic radio financially over the years so that we could be there when Terry needed us. If you would like to support your Catholic radio station, please visit grnonline.com and you can click on the Donate Now button. Again, we sincerely thank you for helping us to be there for Terry and everyone else that needs God's love.
Are you on the CDT Insider email list? Hi, Joe McClain here. And every week I send you cool stuff straight to your inbox, goodies that you're not going to want to miss. Go to grnonline.com/CDT and get signed up today. Be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to Catholic Drive Time, keeping you informed and inspired. I'm your host, Joe McClain. So good to be on with you. Praise be to God. Dr. Michael Robillard. Great conversation. Not long enough. We needed more time.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
To sort of nuance that out further.
But I guess if people are interested in that, they should check out his book.
Yeah, I mean, the book goes in great detail from Regnery. You can always catch the podcast of it on our website at grnonline.com/CDT. Also on Rumble. Yeah, all of that will be available later. I mean, Adrian takes these conversations and he chops them into smaller videos and he reposts them ubiquitously in the cloud.
Snip, snip, snip.
Yep. So
snip.
That'll be available later today. If you want to get on by the way, our Catholic Drive Time YouTube channel is graciously allowed by our cyber overlords to acquire more subscribers. Praise be to God. We have over 6,000 subscribers. Now, they don't allow us to have any views, so they don't allow that. But subscribers, yes. So hit the subscribe button, and there's at least something. Praise be to God.
Hey, you know what we should do, Joe?
What's that?
We should have a VR experience.
Like you talking about the goggles and all that?
Yeah, so somebody could be sitting here in the studio while we do the interviews.
And we're all wearing 3D VR goggles?
No, we'll be normal, but they're going to be wearing the goggles.
Like as if they were...
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay. Well,
what do you
Adrian,
think
make that happen. Praise be to God. Speaking of Adrian's not in the studio tomorrow. Adrian's gone tomorrow.
I am gone tomorrow.
Where are you going?
I am going to... Where am I going? I just forgot all of a sudden. I was going to say El Paso, but I'm not going to El Paso. I'm going to Albuquerque. There we go.
Do we need a drum roll?
Yeah, we needed.
Biden moment.
It was for suspense. I didn't forget. I promise. It's a suspense.
You're going to a wedding?
I'm going to a wedding. My buddy Alex, who he actually listens to the show, called into our game show a number of times. He is getting married on Saturday, so I'm driving out right after the show, heading. Driving, what is that, west? Yeah, west, driving west to Albuquerque. And it's a 13-hour drive, so I'll get there at 10 o'clock at night or something like that.
Did he allow you to serve the Mass?
He did not ask, actually.
Didn't want to bring that up, Rudy, but thanks, though. Yeah, no hard feelings, but
sad. Tear,
yeah,
cry,
if you could just sit in the pew, that'd be great. Thanks.
I would appreciate it if you... just did nothing.
The nice way to say it is you're really important to me, man, and I just want you to be there, present with me, right there, man. I don't need you to serve the Mass.
Right. Basically, that's what he said.
Fully participates what he wants.
I will be actively participating in that Mass. I promise.
Actively participating there. Praise be to God. Hey, by the way, again, we are going to be sending out the CDT Insider email tomorrow afternoon. So make sure you're on the Insider email list on our website. You can sign up today. It's grnonline.com/CDT. Look for the CDT Insider email link. You'll find all the information you need. But hey, I just want to say a special shout out here to Clarissa. Good morning to you. Praise be to God. I see over there, and Luz and Tammy and Nick and Damon all commenting on our CDT Insider Telegram group this morning. Good to see you all. Praise be to God. We're going to be chatting with everyone in the after show today, so join us if you can. We'd love to have you there.
Also, Joe, if I can just let you guys know, tomorrow we're going to have a very special guest on the show.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's going to be surprising. You're going to have to tune in to find out who it is.
In replace of Adrian, is what you meant, or?
He's going to replace one of us.
Okay.
I just gave it.
Was that out loud?
One of us.
I tell you, I can tell you who will be on the show tomorrow.
Who?
That is not going to be a surprise. We'll save the surprise for tomorrow. How about that? Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so.
The not surprised guest tomorrow is Monsignor Charles Pope.
Hey.
He is going to be on the program tomorrow. We're going to be talking about this divide between traditional Catholics and Novus Ordo Catholics, and we're going to be looking at that conversation. He's got some great commentary. He's been on, of course, Catholic Radio for many years. He blogs and does a bunch of other stuff, and he'll be our guest tomorrow in the first hour. So we encourage you to join us for that. But speaking of Monsignor Charles Pope, you know, it's bigpulpit.com day on the program. Tito Edwards is supposed to be on. Not sure where he is, but nonetheless, over at bigpulpit.com, share my desktop there, Adrian. I found an article this morning by Monsignor Charles Pope that I thought was very good. Now, if you don't know, bigpulpit.com aggregates sort of news, blogs, stories from all over the Catholic world into a list every morning. So when you log on, you have sort of a list of a bunch of different stories covering a variety of topics that are very good. So I found one this morning by Monsignor Charles Pope called The Stages of Persecution. And I think this is very apropos, as some would say. Here's the article. It says, with the recent article in The Atlantic linking the rosary to extremist gun culture, we see a gross misunderstanding in the nature of spiritual warfare and its true target, Satan. The rosary is a weapon, but a spiritual one. While it is possible that the author simply misunderstands our allegorical references to warfare, I rather doubt he is that dumb. Rather, I suspect that this is an attempt to stereotype and vilify Catholics, especially traditional ones. These are tactics used to lay a groundwork for the marginalization and persecution of the faithful and the criminalization of their views. With the incident, we do well to review the stages of persecution. The term stages is particularly important in the U.S. because it is rare for a previously respected segment of the population to become reviled overnight. The typical process is that the descent progresses in stages that grow in intensity. In this way, the Catholic Church, once an esteemed institution in America, along with other Christian denominations, has become increasingly marginalized and now even hated by many. It may help us to consider the 5 stages of persecution because it seems that things are going to get more difficult for the Church in the years ahead. Let's see here. I'm going to take a pop quiz. Could either of you guess, without cheating, what the first stage of persecution is?
The first.
We need like
stage.
We need like a
dehumanization.
Dehumanization.
Yep. So I'm gonna go with.
Okay.
Pointing at them and laughing. Exactly. Look at this guy.
That guy.
That's a technical term.
Pointing at someone.
Dude,
and laughing.
you just summarized my entire middle school career.
No, your entire life.
Pointing at me and laughing.
It's pointing at a guy, turning to the person next to you. Can you believe this guy?
Man, I just had flashbacks to all those the cool kids wearing their Reeboks. They had like the little the triangles that would pop, the plastic would pop out of the shoes. They'd have like little plastic Reebok symbols that would pop out.
Huh.
You know, they were all like bright red. Oof, back in the 80s.
I remember back in my day when I went to school, downhill and uphill at the same time.
In snow, I'm sure.
In the
Los
snow.
Angeles.
Yeah. People had the light up shoes.
Yeah, the light up shoes.
No Heelys?
Dude, no.
Heelys was way
They didn't
after.
invent light up shoes until I was already like old. So
those were cool.
I missed the good days apparently. But I did have. I remember buying light up shoes for my son Steven when he was a little guy.
I had light up shoes too.
Did you?
Cool.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Steve and I are the same age, right?
Yeah. Praise
so
be
that
to
makes
God.
sense.
Yeah. All right. So the first stage of persecution, according to Monsignor Charles Pope, is stereotyping the targeted group. To stereotype means to apply an overly simplistic belief about a group of people to each individual person in that class. As the 1960s and 70s progressed, Christians were often caricatured as Bible thumpers, simpletons, haters of science, and hypocrites. They were frequently labeled self-righteous, old-fashioned, and backwards. Because the church once thought the earth was flat and the sun revolved around the earth. Supposedly.
One of those is true, one of those isn't.
And which one? So stereotyping the targeted group is the first step, and everybody paints with broad brushes these days on social media, so it's pretty common. We see that all the time. Step number 2, what would you say is the second level of persecution? That good, huh? Well, stereotyping is
I'm trying to think of how I would do it.
Okay. Well, what would be your second phase then?
Well, I'm an accelerationist, so immediately they would just be
you're gaslighting.
Throw them into jail. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say you
breathe jail.
You make the the first step was what again? It was
stereotyping.
So then you make those stereotypes all evil things. So like. Yeah. Catholics secretly report back to the Pope on everything.
Got it. Okay, well, Adrian is potentially correct.
Oh,
potentially correct.
I can't actually admit his correctness in public, but nonetheless. Step number 2 is vilifying the targeted group for alleged crimes or misconduct. As the stereotyping grew in intensity, Catholics and Christians who did not go along with the Cultural Revolution were described as closed-minded, harmful to human dignity and freedom, intolerant, hateful, bigoted, unfair, homophobic, and/or reactionary. Basically,
I
bad
get called
people.
all those things every day.
Just like literally Twitter. That's what that is.
It's literally constant. So it actually reminds me of Canada.
Does it?
Of the accusing Catholics of killing the native peoples in mass graves.
Yes, yeah, good point. Good call there. Yeah, and then of course Planned Parenthood loves to use this against us for being pro-life, for instance, and
we're gonna be killing women even though they're killing babies,
throwing women into prison. That's really gone down, huh? All right, so step number 3. So we got step 1 is stereotype. Step 2 is vilification. What could step 3 be?
The corral theory.
The corral theory?
Yeah.
What's the corral theory? Are you a caballero? Like, what's going down over there?
Corral them all into a group, and then you ghettoize them.
Then you ghettoize them. That kind of reminds me of the Nazis in Poland.
I would never make a
all the
Holocaust
Jews
comparison.
and forcing them into a tightly packed, very condensed, what they call the ghetto, before they would ship them off to the camps to exterminate them. So maybe we've seen this movie before here. Step 3 is, in fact, marginalizing the targeted group's role in society. Having established the false premise that the church and the faith are bad, even harmful to human dignity and freedom, the next stage is to relegate the role of church in society to the periphery. So in other words, this kind of reminds me of what John Kerry made famous. Well, I personally, and of course President Biden's made this claim. I'm not sure if Nancy Pelosi had, but she might have. I personally don't like abortion, but publicly I can't impose my belief on other people.
Separation of church and state.
Yeah, this sort of idea that we can't have a Catholic lens on the entire universe on every single topic, no matter what it is. Of course, we can and we should and we ought. Natural law and the Catholic faith go hand in glove. So marginalizing the targeted group's role in society, making sure they have no means or capability to impact the world around them. All right, so that's step 4. So that was step 3, rather. So let's recap. Stereotyping the targeted group, vilifying the targeted group, and then marginalizing the targeted group. And then, of course, step number 4, what would you say step number 4 would be?
Well, the next logical step would be these people are completely incompatible with society, and we got to get rid of them.
Adrian?
Yeah, I was going to say something at least somewhat similar.
Somewhat similar.
I mean, at that point, these people are intolerable.
You make it illegal to be them.
Yeah. All right. Well, step number 4 is criminalizing the targeted group or its works. He says, Monsignor Charles Pope says, recent attempts
to help the poor people.
He says, recent attempts to compel us to violate our teaching and consciences are noted above, but there have been many other times we have had to go to court to fight for our right to practice our faith openly. An increasing amount of litigation is being directed against the church and other Christians for daring to live out our faith. Yay, and
like
amen.
going to Mass in 2020.
Yeah, almost.
Well, the bishops did that one. But I was more thinking of California. Remember whenever they had shut down a bunch of the adoption centers that are run by nuns because they refused to adopt kids to sodomite parents?
Yeah, what about the nuns that got taken to court for years thanks to the Obamacare Act, fighting for their right to not have to force contraception or pay for abortifacients in their health insurance plan for their employees at their hospitals? Like, hello? I mean, good grief. Pretty obvious case there. All right, coming in at number 5 as the 5th level and stage of persecuting Christians and Catholics. What would you say? You gotta hurry, though.
Kill them.
Just burn them at the stake.
Burn down their churches.
Well, step number 5 comes in at persecuting the targeted group outright.
There we go.
If current trends continue, Christians, especially religious leaders, may face fines or incarceration.
So where are we now, Joe?
Step 4.57?
4.57.
I don't know. I think opinions may vary on that, but I think we're on the scale. We're on the slope. We're on the slide. we're on the tracks. Whatever metaphor you like. But hey, we're going to have fun no matter the persecution. After this break, we're playing the game Fear and Trembling, and you can win prizes. Call right now. Let's have a laugh together. 877-757-9424. That's 877-757-9424. Call right now. We'll be right back.
Many Protestants believe we are saved by faith alone, and they say Catholics believe they can work their way into heaven. How do you answer that?
First, I asked them to show me where in the Catechism, the official teaching of the Catholic Church, does it teach that we can work our way into heaven. They can't because it doesn't. The Catholic Church has never taught a doctrine of salvation by works, that we can work our way into heaven. Second, I asked them to show me where in the Bible does it teach that we are saved by faith alone. They can't because it doesn't. The only place in all of Scripture where the phrase faith alone appears is in James 2:24, where it says that we are not justified or saved by faith alone. So one of the main pillars of Protestantism, the doctrine of salvation by faith alone, not only doesn't appear in the Bible, but the Bible actually says the exact opposite, that we are not saved by faith alone. Third, I asked them that if works have nothing to do with our salvation, then how come every passage in the New Testament that talks about judgment says we will be judged by our works, not by faith alone? We see this in Romans 2, Matthew 15, 1 Peter 1, and many other verses. Fourth, I asked them if we are saved by faith alone, why does 1 Corinthians 13:13 say that love is greater than faith? Shouldn't it be the other way around? Catholics believe that we are saved by God's grace alone. We can do nothing apart from God's grace to receive the free gift of salvation. However, we have to respond to His grace. Protestants believe that too. However, many Protestants believe that the only response necessary is an act of faith, whereas Catholics believe a response of faith and works is necessary, whereas the Bible puts it in Galatians 5:6, for in Christ Jesus neither circumcision nor uncircumcision is of any avail, but faith working through love. Faith working through love, just as the Church teaches.
A beacon of truth in a troubled world. This is the Guadalupe Radio Network, radio for your soul.
Welcome to another round of Fear and Trembling, the Catholic trivia game show that helps you work out your salvation by the seat of your pants. It's a 50-50 chance and prizes are involved. Avoid the weeping and gnashing of teeth. Call now to take your shot. 877-757-9424. And now, your host, Joe McClain.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to Catholic Drive Time and Fear and Trembling, the Catholic Trivia Game Show, where we have secrets and agendas that you're not allowed to tell anybody, ever. You know what I'm saying? All right? We do like to do some things here, and I promise it's all good. Number one, we like to teach the faith. So we look for teachable moments in the questions where you might learn something, praise be to God, that you did not know before. And then, of course, We like to have a laugh. Our callers are amazing. We enjoy that most. And we give out prizes, which makes this a winner for everybody involved. And I'm looking at the questions today, and they're all easy, okay? You may not learn anything today, to be honest with you. You may have already known all of this. But nonetheless, we're going to play, and it's going to be fun. Here's the kicker, though. I do have 3 Catholic trivia questions, all of which we will not be asking our caller. So they don't need to know for sure. Instead, I'm going to ask Rudy, I'm going to ask Adrian. One of them is going to give us a correct answer. The other is going to give us an incorrect answer. The caller will then have 15 seconds on the clock to make a decision. Whomst do they trust more, Rudy or Adrian? And then, depending on how they choose, every correct answer will go into the coffee cup of divine providence to win this week's prize. Rudy, what could they win?
Praise be to God. Our sponsor this week is, drum roll please, Catholic Drive Time.
Praise be to God.
You're going to be the envy of your neighbors, your friends, fellow parishioners, even the priest.
Wow.
He's going to see you sipping your coffee from your CDT mug that's autographed, by the way, during Mass. Just kidding, don't do that. But the winner this week is going to get a replica of the coffee cup of divine providence along with some other little goodies here. So.
I heard Pope Francis doesn't even have one of those.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't.
For sure.
I made sure
but
of that.
But he's welcome to call in. We'd love to hear from His Holiness.
If he calls in, I promise I'll give him one. I'll send him one.
He'll play the game show one day.
Wouldn't he? That would be bad.
We won't interview him for anything else.
But he could play the game
He'll play the game show. That's all he has time for.
That'd be good. We love that. You get a CDT prize pack, the winner. You don't just get the mug. You're going to get other goodies as well. We'll include that in the giveaway. Thank you, Catholic Drive Time, for being our sponsor this week. Praise
You're welcome.
God. All right. Let's go to the phones. Good morning to you, Forrest. This is my good friend Forrest from God's Country.
Morning, Joe. How are you?
Praise be to God. I'm alive, Forrest. How are you?
Yes.
The answer should be too stressed, too blessed to be stressed, too anointed to be disappointed. And if grace was money, you'd be a millionaire.
Somebody's been listening to Jesse Romero. Man, I'm telling
you nailed that.
There you go. There you go.
It's good to hear you, my friend. I hope all is well with you and your life and our good friends out in Hondo, Texas, God's country to be sure. It's been a while.
We're fixing to have the Safe of Dove hunt.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's coming up September opening weekend, right? September 1st. Praise be to God. I don't think I'm going to make it this year. Last year we got to go. Didn't see any doves, but it was still fun to hang out with everybody.
Yeah.
Are you talking about hunting doves?
Yes.
Serious lack of doves.
Yeah, there was a very serious lack of doves last year, like as in none. There was zero, no doves whatsoever. At least not for me. But nonetheless, it was a good time to see everybody. And I'm sure this year is going to be different. Praise be to God. They're probably going to have a great hunt. And Safe is a wonderful sponsor of the Guadalupe Radio Network and our team over there in South and Central Texas. So we're going to be praying for the success of that. All right, Forrest, I know you know the deal. You're an insider. So best of luck to you, my friend. We'll be praying for you. Just know Rudy is wearing a tie today. He's got his rich guy tie on today. It's got
No. The problem is he said it was a field of midnight blue. It's not. It's Hondo blue.
Hondo blue. Well, I'm going to use that now.
I was going to use gunmetal blue, but I thought that might be triggering to some people.
Gunmetal blue.
Well, that's. I feel like there's some rosary radicals talking right now.
Yeah, for sure. A little cryptic language there. All right, enough shenanigans. Let's play our game. We will start with Team Rudy, as is our custom, our church-approved tradition. Praise be to God. Good morning to you, Rudy.
Good morning.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's start with a history question. Whew, my favorite kind out of all questions are always history questions.
Good to know.
Are you sure? You ready?
I'm pretty sure.
Are you up
I'm
for
ready.
this?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Could you tell me, please, St. Thomas More was martyred under orders of which monarch?
Thomas More, man. What a Chad. What an absolute unit. He was put to death. He was put to death. He was martyred under King Francis I of France.
Mm-hmm. Really?
More is it's a French name after all.
King Francis I of France, you say?
Yep.
Is that because the 100 Years' War and France was really just more like Anglo-Saxons and vice versa, Normans, that kind of thing?
I mean, if you say so.
Mixing it all up, is that what you're doing?
If you say so.
In honor of Joan of Arc? Okay, King Francis I of King of France. Okay, got it. Okay. Adrian, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Can you start by interpreting what the young man said over there? Chad, unit? I have no idea what he said.
Oh, well, see, he misspoke. What he meant to say is that Thomas More is a giga Chad. That's what he meant.
A giga Chad.
Sorry, I need to interpret it. He's speaking a little outdated. You know,
I got to update it to Google Translator up here. Giga Chad, Chad, unit. I have no idea. But nonetheless, can you tell me, St. Thomas More was martyred under orders of which monarch, sir?
Yes. St. Thomas More was martyred under this king who was known. He was declared by Pope Leo X as defender of the faith. And that is King Henry VIII.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Defender of the faith, you say?
That's what Pope Leo X called him.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, Forrest, you got options. Adrian, the Giga Chad guy over there, seems to think it's King Henry VIII. Whereas Brother Rudy, who just went with simple Chad and unit, that guy says it's King Francis I, King of France. 15 seconds on the clock. Who is right? Who is wrong? Who doesn't need 15 seconds? Forrest, what say you?
The funny thing is, Queen Elizabeth still carries that title. But Adrian is right. I don't know how on the first try. Adrian's right.
I resent that, Forrest. Just for the record. Let the record be known.
Praise be to God. You are correct,
I just
sir.
call him like I see him.
Yeah, that's right. You are correct, sir, and well played, masterfully played there, Forrest. It is King Henry VIII and not King Francis I.
And for the record, King Henry VIII got that title because of St. Thomas More.
You're right. He wrote
the book that King Henry VIII put his name on.
And for the record, King Henry,
Defense of the Seven Sacraments.
King Francis was the king of France at that time. So.
Really? I didn't know that. What?
There you go. All right. Let's move on to the next question. King Henry VIII was the correct answer. The first one. The second one, equally easy in my opinion, but we will start with Adrian nonetheless. Adrian, may Catholics use charms to achieve a desired result or to avert evil?
May Catholics use charms to achieve a desired result or avert evil?
Yeah.
Well, I've seen Catholics do it, so obviously, yes.
All the time.
I see Catholics left and right.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
I look to my left, I look to my right, and what do I see?
I don't know.
Catholics using charms.
Okay.
Yep.
So your answer is yes.
My answer is yes.
You're just going to go with yes. All right. Let's see here. Rudy, maybe you can shed some light on this. Could you tell me, may Catholics use charms to achieve a desired result or to avert evil?
This one actually bothers me. No. Don't ever use charms. Every time I see somebody doing superstitious stuff like that, it makes me want to take an axe to the tree, if you know what I mean.
Go all St. Elias on them.
I understand what you mean. So your answer is no. You're going to say no. There's no exceptions to the rule?
No exceptions. Okay. Don't use charms. Okay. It's superstitious. I see. It's magic.
Well, Forrest, you have options. Can Catholics use charms to bring about a good result or to avert evil? Rudy is a firm no on this one, whereas Adrian's like, I see people do it all the time, so sure, yeah, why not? 15 seconds on the clock. Who is right? Who is wrong? Forrest, what say you?
I am so glad that Rudy's right and Adrian's wrong.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Make me want to go the Boniface option on these
Forrest, you're just showing off at this point, okay? I mean, you're a master at this again.
The amount of disrespect I'm feeling is just unreal.
No, it's masterful. He's going to be in the Grand Championship.
I'm going to start weeping soon.
In fact, no, Catholics should not be using charms or anything of the like. Crystals, none of that. No. Don't do it. Don't do it ever.
Use sacramentals.
Yeah, praise be to God. All right, third question. I think we're going to get you in there for a perfect score today. We're going to go back to Team Rudy here. Rudy, can you tell me what term refers to a celestial spirit assigned by God to watch over each person during life?
Okay, celestial, so otherworldly. Okay, so that's defined as an eldritch type entity.
An eldritch?
Yep.
Wow. An eldritch, you said.
Yeah.
Huh. Like Wild at Heart or something? Adrian, could you tell me what term refers to a celestial spirit assigned by God to watch over each person during life?
Well, I kind of recall learning a prayer to this entity when I was a young buck, and that would be a guardian angel, which I've been told every state also has their own guardian angel.
Ooh, okay. So you're saying it's a guardian angel.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm
on
saying.
the nose there, Adrian. All right, Forrest. Adrian says it's a guardian angel, but Rudy says it's an eldritch type entity. 15 seconds on the clock. Who is right? Who is wrong? Forrest, what say you?
It's amazing. Adrian, like a broken clock, is right twice a day.
Oh, man.
Are you profiling the game? Have you been tracking the results and correlating the data?
He's like, Adrian is only ever right twice, never more, never less.
In fact, Guardian Angel is the correct answer. But Forrest, I have to believe you must have advanced degrees from Higher University to have this level of mastery of this game, sir.
He pays me $5 every time he wants to play.
Do you happen to identify as a doctor?
Praise be to God. Forrest.
Hey, Adrian, that was the first prayer I taught my youngest daughter, too.
Amen. That's awesome. Praise be to God.
All right. God bless you, Forrest. Always good to hear your voice and praying for you and your family. Thanks for playing our game, having a laugh with us. We enjoy that most. We're gonna call that there for the radio side of the show. Put you on hold there for us, but we'd love to chat with you directly. If you want to comment on anything we talked about today, let us know what you think. Got new topics you want to discuss? Go to the live video feed at grnonline.com/CDT, and you can comment on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. It's all linked up. grnonline.com/CDT. God bless you. God love you, and we'll see you then.
Thank you for joining us on Your Catholic Drive Time, where it is our pleasure to keep you informed and inspired.
Join us Monday through Friday at the same time, right here on your favorite Catholic radio station.
Don't forget to connect with us. Just go to facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Again, that's facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Be sure to share more than just us today. Share Jesus with everyone you meet.
Bye now, and God love you.
Praise be to God. Or as Rudy would say, glory and amen.
Lori has a question, Joe.
Yeah?
She wants to know, what does Forrest have against Adrian? That's a good question, Lori.
No, I did not.
What does Forrest have to have against Adrian?
Why are you reading into it that way, Lori? There's no way. No, he was just, being honest and sincere.
Jay Koch is right. There is some Adrian bashing going on here.
No.
I'm hurt. I'm wounded. I'll never recover. I will truly,
you're
truly never recover.
You're like a tiny flower, just wilting under the sun.
Yes.
The heat. Dang, Adrian got roasted, says Zero Bake PKR. Oh, no. You guys, you're reading into it too much. There's no way. I thought it was completely honest and sincere, fair.
Sounds made up to me.
What? No.
Holy Chicho wants to know how he would say glory and amen.
Glory and amen.
What is glory in Spanish? Let me know, Holy Chicho. How do you say glory and amen in Spanish?
Gloria was my first girlfriend.
Really?
There you go.
Interesting. How would Polichicho say glory and amen? Rudy, any ideas?
Gloria y amen.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Pretty on the nose.
Interesting, huh?
Pretty on the nose. Praise be to God.
Jay Koch said Adrian was a victim of a drive-by rosary. Yeah, there was some violence. In fact, I would really, really not appreciate it. Please do not attack me further by praying rosaries for me. Please don't do it.
Avoid it at all costs?
It would be terrible. It would be true Adrian bashing.
Adrian, why is there like an outline under your chair labeled safe space? I'm curious. Why do you?
Apparently, I'm going to have to make the circle bigger because
I couldn't see it from where I'm sitting.
Because this circle apparently isn't working. I'm going to have to make the circle a little bit bigger.
Praise be to God. Let's see here. Damon says on the Telegram group, Adrian, although wouldn't say hate. What? It was fun. Nonetheless,
wouldn't say hate.
I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. Forrest has the high ground. Yes, he does. In fact, he does.
You underestimate my power.
Nicely done, Forrest. 3 for 3, says Josh Null over on CDT Insider Group. Daniel Gonzalez, good morning to you. Thanks for hanging out with us today, by the way. Josh Null, again, good morning to you. Thanks for... Mike Koniger's on, posting pictures of his gat. That's what the kids are calling him these days?
See, I didn't even know that. So I got a...
No, that's an old school gangster, like 90s gangster term.
So it's an old person thing.
It is, yeah.
Okay,
like the 90s gangster rap, you would hear gat. Rat-a-tat-tat, we got my gat, or whatever. How's it go? I don't know.
See, I got tagged in the post.
Yeah.
And they were like, post your gat. And
check.
Gat check. That's what it was. Yeah. Someone was like, post your gat check or something like that. And they tagged me in it. And I was like, hey, I'd love to do that. But I don't know what that means. So it was very awkward.
As they say, I keep that thang on me.
Do they say it that way? I'm just...
The thing?
The thing. Just curious. Master Baker's in the house. Praise be to God. Says, I have my 50-round rosary in my pocket, so don't mess with me, man. Yeah. So you're going concealed carry there, Master Baker. Interesting choice.
You know, the first rule of gun safety is don't cut me off in traffic.
Yikes. Yeah, that was a yikes moment.
For legal reasons, that's a joke.
Obviously, that's a joke. The actual rule is to have fun. That's the first rule. First rule of gun safety is have fun.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
The second rule is never tell anybody about what goes on in the club. You know what I'm saying? Let's see here. Jay Koch. Adrian was a victim. I don't know, Jay. I think you're going to need to get a second opinion there. He says, can I get the history of the mug?
Yeah, sure. After this short break.
Before we tell you that, if you're not on our Telegram channel, you missed the post yesterday of this incredible thing that we saw. It was really fascinating.
Yeah.
We're sitting in a conference room here in
the third floor.
On the third floor of CDT.
In the middle of the rain.
It wasn't raining.
No, it wasn't raining.
Oh.
But just to set you up, the clouds were in the sky, kind of cumulus type clouds rolling in. It's really hot outside. And you could see the traffic across the way on our super large KD10. What is it, going west? East?
East.
Going eastward, traffic's going eastward. And all of a sudden, Joe catches from the corner of his eye something moving on the glass. He says, is that a frog? And it turns out it was a frog on the third story climbing up the glass.
Tiny frog.
Which, if you can imagine, is ironic because the freeway was literally just across the way. And if you've played Frogger, you would know that,
Adrian,
the frogs belong in the on the road there.
Trying to show it.
I'm thinking Adrian can actually just put it on. You guys have Telegram on your desktop? You could just stream it there.
That's true.
We
Good point.
Yeah.
1 second.
But tiny little. I mean, he was a tiny hanging out. It was like watching Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. He was just hanging on for dear life, but he kept cruising. Like, I don't know where he was going.
He kept cruising. I see where you're going.
See, my theory, pun not intended in that occasion. Oh, that's a good one, though. Why didn't I think of that? I should have thought of that.
Wait, I missed it. What was it?
I said he's like Tom Cruise. And
then he said he was just cruising.
He just kept cruising.
I missed that because I'm laughing at Joshua Knowles' gat. That is California compliant, he says. 10-round rosary.
California compliant. My theory is this poor little frog was identifying as a bird and needed to be up in the sky where his fellow birds were.
That's your theory.
To join the flock.
It's an interesting theory you got there.
That's my theory.
Okay.
Third story, though. Like, that's crazy. He was doing a stunt like pro-life Spider-Man.
Yeah, buddy. That's a nice decade you got there, brother Josh. Now, the only thing about here's the problem I have with rosaries.
It's got to have a nice crucifix.
The crucifixes are always troublemakers in the sense that they break. The little corpuses fall off. I had a crucifix exactly like yours, Josh, and the corpus fell off 3 times.
So you got to get a DIY crucifix, and you got to nail Christ to the cross.
The one that I have, the rosary that I have now, which was made by the son of my colleague, I like how big it is. Praise be to God. It's a huge crucifix, Adrian. but the corpus falls off. I have to glue him back on. It's like he's hanging on by just pure glue, and it's going to fall off again. As soon as it gets brittle, it'll be gone.
Get a nail and just nail him to the cross.
Again. Yeah.
See, my thing about crucifixes is the corpus is always, it doesn't have any definition to it. It's like cheap mold, you know. They use the same mold, and it needs to be replaced. So I need something with quality.
Jay Coke says, corpus fell off. What are you doing with the rosary? Beating people with them? Opening beers? No.
Seriously, because sometimes people are like, my rosary broke. I'm like, how did it break?
Do not.
I've never had one break.
You've never had a rosary break?
Never, no.
What?
Because I never pray it.
Lots of rosaries.
Just kidding.
You're hanging out with Father Casey, I see.
Some would say you're not on the team.
Yeah.
Some would say.
By the way,
I've had many rosaries break on me.
Just for clarity, because my wife will be upset if she heard this, Jay Coke, you're spreading lies and rumors about me. If my wife finds out, I'm going to be in trouble. I have never opened a beer with my rosary. My wedding ring, however, that's a different story.
What is that, titanium?
My dad did that, I think. And I think that's how my dad broke his ring.
Oh, man.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, explain that one to the wife. No, thank you. Master Baker says, it's always dangerous to cut me off when I'm saying my rosary. You will get some very intense Hail Mary shout out your way. Shots your way.
Hail Mary, full of grace.
Tree Frog, says Lori. That's a little guy, though. Man, that guy was just, I think I can. Up high with the birds. 0 BKR. Our rosary don't break. You ain't praying hard enough. If your rosary doesn't break, you ain't praying hard enough, says 0 BKR. MT Spiel, good morning to you. Thanks for hanging out with us.
You should see my high-capacity rosary. I should bring it next week. It's 150 Hail Marys, 15 decades.
You don't need anything more than the little ring with the little...
Nope.
That's all you need.
I don't believe in those.
It's like a derringer.
Exactly.
Where they have those laws in California about only have a clip so big.
Yeah.
Nah.
Exactly. You don't need an assault
150 round Hail Mary rosary.
You don't need an assault rosary, okay?
Yeah, man, you guys are gone.
Assault rosary?
You got me reminiscent of California right now.
Yeah.
So there was a time where there was a court case, I think it was a federal level court case, that allowed people in California and places that don't have, basically non-free states, to go and get high-capacity magazines. And so there's people in California who have the drum magazines that they purchased within 1 day of the injunction of this particular case, and they're able to keep it.
Really?
But nobody else can have them.
How often does that drum magazine jam up on you?
I don't know. I've never had one before.
Probably a lot.
But when I first got here to Texas, one of the first things I did was I got a 30-round magazine.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, "Are you sure you don't want to get a drum mag?" I'm like, I do want one, but that seems a little bit too much for what I want right now.
Loading that thing is a pain.
It's a pain, I bet.
Yeah, big pain in the backside.
And for me, it would be storage. So I have one of those Dascolic, I think they're called, flat cases for my rifle. So I wouldn't know where to put the other one.
Jeff Burrier came in with saying, care of a Fear and Trembling game show in 2021, blessed by Father Don Calloway.
Hey.
He got his rosary there. Praise
Father
be to God.
Lovely.
Lovely.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. Yvonne wants to know where I got my 15-decade rosary. Well, unfortunately, you can't get it anywhere. You can. You have to get it on. Or the way I got it was I had my buddy with the TFP. He made it for me, so it was handmade by some TFP members. So sorry, they don't sell them. I asked them because I was getting my. So traditionally, when you enter the Dominicans when they enter, you have two options basically. You either make your own rosary, or typically you would ask the Dominican sisters to make one for you. They said that occasionally they have like someone that's just important to them, like a family member, they'll make a rosary for them. And I was like, it'd be cool. I really, really like the TFP rosaries because they use like steel wire at the ends so they don't break. And they're like really durable. They're very beautiful rosaries, massive rosaries, very manly. So I reached out to them and said, hey, could y'all make me a rosary so that I could wear in my habit? And so they said, sure. And so they did it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Praise be to God. Aloric, good morning to you. Mike K and Nick the Mike. Praise be to God. Sci-Fi Mike is over there. Good to see you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Always good to see you on Odyssey. Nelia's over there as well. Is Amber Carey on today?
Yeah, Amber's here.
Oh, come on.
She says,
Amber.
have you tried soldering the corpus onto?
No, I have not. I should, I guess.
I would
above
do
my
it.
pay grade.
I would do it for you, Joe, but I only have lead core solder.
To be honest with you, Amber Carey,
should eat that.
I just don't think I can enroll in another university at this point to learn soldering. You know what I'm saying?
It's so easy.
Like,
you got to go to welding school for that, which is a great
to
school.
take out another student loan just to learn soldering so I can keep my corpus on my crucifix.
You know what we
if
didn't
Jesus
ask?
doesn't want to be on the cross, who am I?
A lot of things.
Who am I to tell him?
You know what we didn't ask today is just the prevalence of basically anything you want to learn how to do.
Yeah.
Is on YouTube.
Well, okay, we live in a day and age. It's interesting because Adrian was with me. I'm pretty sure Adrian was with me. We had we were talking with our friend, professor over there, former provost at UST, about this topic. I had watched a Valuetainment video, and this was
Aquila.
Aquila, yeah, this was like two and a half years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This was a while back.
This was back on our Monday show.
Yes.
I was an intern here.
That's exactly right. When you weren't sleeping, you were paying attention, praise be to God. And
this is true.
And we're having this conversation because the gentleman from Valuetainment, David
Davis.
Well, anyway,
who we always have.
Valuetainment. Thank you.
Patrick Bet Davis.
Thank you, Patrick Bet Davis. He said there was a trend going on in American corporations where they were recruiting high school students and convincing them to skip college altogether. Like companies like Microsoft, Google, people like that. They would say, listen, you have some aptitude and talent. Just come straight to us. We're going to pay you a lot of money and train you to do what you're already good at, but do it for us the way we want it done. Don't go to college. And a lot of people are going that route. So there's that trend. And the point we were trying to have a conversation around is, what's the value of higher education anymore if they can't compete in the marketplace when it comes to pure job skill type training?
Mm-hmm.
And, the real trick is, 200 years ago, higher education was not about job skill training. It was about reason and logic. If you could think clearly, come to proper conclusions, and be resourceful, well, then you can do any job you set your mind to. You had to have those base skills first, and then you apply them in any part of life afterwards, and amazing things happen. But higher education has morphed into VOTEC training, and the argument I've always made is the difference between, back in my day, Sally Struthers would be on the infomercial at 2 a.m. in the morning, and when I'm watching Kung Fu Theater, and she would say, would you like to learn how to be TV VCR repair person? The difference between TV VCR repair and brain surgeon is a simple factor of time and money. If you are willing to put the time in and pay the bill, I guarantee you will find a school that will take you and let you learn how to do brain surgery. Whether or not you're good at it, whether or not you'll ever get a job in it, it's a different ballgame altogether. But nonetheless, it's a factor of time and money. So it's really morphed into this VOTEC type business rather than forming the person into what they're supposed to be. So that's one of my main complaints of higher education. And, I'm sure traditional colleges and universities, they would like to defend themselves from all of that.
I don't know how they would.
Unless you're embracing the original model, the original goal of higher education, I don't think you have much of a defense.
I'm reading a number of books that I just so happen to have right in front of me, so I'm going to show it to y'all. And this actually goes right along with what we're talking about. And these 3 books I'm reading is all about this exact issue, because it's really been bothering me about the fact that you don't learn anything in school. You don't learn the things that you're supposed to learn, because college has a purpose, has a telos, an end that it was supposed to be designed for. It's supposed to be forming you and the liberal arts, and people forget what the liberal arts are for, right? The liberal arts, it's like, oh, the word liberal must be bad. No, the liberal arts refers to, because liberal meaning freedom, right? But freedom for what? It's not a freedom from things, but a freedom to think well. And in order to think well, you need to know things. So just like you're not free to love your wife if you don't know her, The same way, you can't be free to learn and to think and to know things if you have never been taught how to think and the basic principles of philosophy and theology. To that end, I started reading these 3 books, and one is kind of funny. How to Read a Book by Adler. He's and it's kind of funny. You're like, oh, how to read a book. Isn't that funny? He actually makes a joke about that like 3 times. I'm like, dude, okay, we get it. He's like, oh, don't you have to know how to read a book? Yeah. So anyway, that's one book, and it's all about how to read well. And so it goes over like elementary level reading to analytical reading to the art of skimming. How many people were taught how to skim a book well?
I took a class in it.
Yeah, well, you took a class in it. I guarantee you most people have never learned that skill.
I took it in high school.
That's amazing. But most people never learn that. And so you have to learn how to skim a book well. Because, I mean, if you're trying to write a dissertation, you need to read like 30 books. But it's impossible for you to read 30 books in order to write your paper. And that's just for anything. Yeah. The other book is Another Sort of Learning by Father Shaw. And this book is about the issues with the education, with the higher education, and what education is actually for. It's a collection of essays. And then the other book I'm reading is The Closing of the American Mind by Alan Bloom, and it's about the corruption of the education system. And this book came out, I believe, in like the 70s, I believe. And they were like, yeah, the education system is kind of going downhill. And boy, did they not know what was coming. And then the final book, which I don't have with me, is The Intellectual Life by a French priest that I can never pronounce his name, a Dominican priest. And those books, I'm reading them because I'm like, I realized I wasn't really given a good education, even at University of St. Thomas, even at St. Thomas High School. I didn't really learn the things that I feel like I needed to learn. I wasn't given liberal arts. Instead, I was given a vocational training. I was given a lot of sciences, which there's nothing wrong with learning the sciences, but the sciences really are supposed to be subordinate to philosophy and theology. Not that you can't learn them. I think you should learn them, but it's supposed to be subordinate. And you don't actually get taught philosophy. Name a high school that teaches philosophy. St. Thomas High School did, and I took philosophy in St. Thomas High School, but it was an elective, and it was only offered for seniors. Yeah. So how is that the case? It just blows my mind.
Wow.
So that's my little soapbox.
Joe handed his man card back when he couldn't fix his car. Now he can't even solder. The card is shelved. True PKR coming with the fire. Yeah, true story though. Where's the lie?
I thought about that yesterday, Joe, because I was going through Walmart and I saw they had a bunch of wrenches and stuff. I was like, oh, that sucks.
I bought another set of wrenches not long ago, actually.
I know.
I like the idea of fixing my car, but the reality is I always mess it up. But you're right. What kind of man can't fix his own car, for crying out loud? Hey, Forrest says he's promising me to make a rosary out of shotgun shells.
That's amazing.
I'll take it. Praise be to God. That'd be fun. That'd be fun. You know, I didn't even know what the term liberal arts meant until I was an adult. Like, I never even really heard it as a kid. Nobody ever talked about it. I've gone to Hawaii Pacific University, San Antonio College, American Broadcasting School, New Hampshire Tech, and whatever. And nobody, in all of that time, nobody ever said, hey, liberal arts education. Like, I didn't even know what it was. Like, it's so lost to society in general, unless you are raised in circles where either conservative circles or Catholic circles. I mean, like, I think places like Hillsdale College, which is not a Catholic place, there are plenty of Catholics there, but it's more of a political conservative school. I bet they use the term liberal arts on a fairly frequent basis.
They, them?
They, them, yep. But most schools, I mean, how often did you hear the word liberal art in University of St. Thomas, Adrian?
Liberal arts at UST?
Like,
all the time.
Just the term.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time, yeah. Right.
The UST likes to pride itself on being a liberal arts university. And the problem is, here's another problem, is that the liberal arts universities that exist today, majority of them, not all of them, majority of them are liberal arts to a degree, but more in the same vein as you might say, talk about separation of church and state. So you have your liberal arts, but then you have your other classes. So the good news is, you are required to take philosophy, theology, English, history, all of these liberal arts classes, which is good, but they're more like, you get the attitude from everybody, oh, well, I had to take these required courses that are not related to my major. Yeah. And that's the problem, because
Or they get hijacked, or they use the term liberal arts, but they've hijacked it into some modern thing.
Yeah, well, I don't hear that too much, at least not at UST. I'm sure that does happen at the universe, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it is the case. But the problem is we have lost the reason for universities. And so that's why when people ask me, like, oh, why would you want to go back to college? Well, it's not because I want to, like, pursue a degree in something, what people might say, a practical degree. It's more of the pursuit of the intellectual life, which you can do independently, which is what Father Yikes, the French priest.
Father Yikes?
I can't say his name.
French?
I'm not even going to attempt to say his name. It's the intellectual life.
Or is it pronounced Yikes? I'm just curious.
Is that how French people speak?
Yikes?
That's probably closer.
Father de Yikes.
But it's his book, The Intellectual Life, is about how you can live the intellectual life outside of university, which I think is good. But it's kind of like vocational training, right?
Yeah.
If you want to get vocational training to be a engineer, you need to work with engineers. You want to be a vocational training to be a doctor or a nurse, you need to work with doctors and nurses. If you want to be a vocational training to be an intellectual, well, you need to go to college, because that's what vocational training would be, like hanging out, studying, reading, writing papers with intellectuals.
I see.
So that's the kind of the problem with the difference between those two things. Also, here's my unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
Doctors are not doctors.
What?
Yeah. Medical doctors, when we call medical doctors, like, you're not a real doctor unless you're a medical doctor. Stop calling yourself a doctor. Yeah. Medical doctors are physicians. Medical doctors, that's a trade. That's a skill that you learn. It's not an intellectual pursuit, because the word doctor literally means docere, from Latin docere, meaning to teach. So you are a teacher. But medical doctors are not teachers. They're physicians.
Yeah.
So awkward.
All right, Jay Koch, it's time for the history of the Coffee Cup of Divine Providence.
Goes
Are you
back
ready,
to
sir?
Super Dave.
Are you ready, sir? Here we go. Okay. Let's start from the beginning.
No, man, you should have put the crickets.
Wait, okay,
Yes.
hold on.
Yeah. Okay. That which was from the beginning, Jay Koch, which we have heard, which we have seen with our own eyes, we have looked upon, and our hands have handled of the word of life. For the life was manifested, and we have seen, and do bear witness, and declare unto you the life eternal, which was with the Father, and hath appeared to us. Are you paying attention, Jacob?
And the cup resided in the mind of God ad intra, before all eternity.
And the cup runneth over.
That which we have seen and have heard, we declare unto you, Jacob, that you also may have fellowship with us. And our fellowship may be with the Father and with the Son, Jesus, the Christ. I don't know why they leave out the definite article there with Christ. Why? What is the Christ? He's the Christ, not just, it's not his last name, okay? It's the Christ. He is Messiah. And these things we write to you, or say to you, Jacob, that you may rejoice and your joy may be full. Was that helpful? Did that
What are
answer
you reading?
The question? Just, no? Curious? No? No? Praise be to God. I'm glad we got that covered up.
All right. Anyway, I'm glad we answered that question. Moving on.
Clear, definitive answers.
Yes.
That's what you get here. Unlike what happens under the Swiss Bishop's synodality report.
We should have a synod on the history of the divine, the Coffee Cup of Divine Providence.
We should. We should put out a survey. How would you like the history to be reported?
Should we send a letter to Rome asking them for permission to tell them about this history of the Coffee Cup of Divine Providence?
No, they've asked us for this sort of type of input. They put it out. They want the whole world to participate fully, active, full participation. So
Jay Koch said, "I'm watching and listening an inch from the screen. I'm coming over to drink out of that cup."
It is the authentic and the original Coffee Cup of Divine Providence. So it is protected by armed guard at all times. So you will have to maintain some distance.
Lori said, she said,
All right, I'll tell you the real story.
Okay.
It happened centuries ago.
Some would say millennium.
There was a man, an explorer, And this man, he was looking for a lost city.
Oh, wow.
And out in the shifting sands of the desert, he found a stone. And that stone belonged to that lost city he was looking for. So he took an excavation team with him.
Is that Atlantis?
No, it wasn't Atlantis. That was found after. And excavated out all of the sand, and he found this city. And the only thing that was there, as if it was
miraculous,
as if it was like
God's will, divine providence,
some sort of divine vibration. You could feel it. The air was static
of the universe.
Yeah,
like the frequency of the universe.
He's like, there's something here.
I could see crystals popping.
Kept digging, and all of a sudden, the sky opened up.
Whoa!
Because it was the first time it rained in like 70 years in that part of the desert. The sky opened up, and he heard a voice. It was like a discombobulated eldritch type voice.
Eldritch.
And the voice said, "Behold the cup."
Did it say it like that?
Yeah. So it was like you would think it would be more epic.
Yeah,
in the way that the sky opened up.
It's like, behold the cup.
I mean, that's what I would expect, but it was just like, behold the cup.
Just like that.
It was, dramatic like
and he
that.
was like, whoa.
And all of a sudden, it was like, behold the cup.
He's like, whoa, this is a very modern looking cup. This clearly was put here by somebody after the fact of the city being destroyed. And so anyway, that's how we got the cup.
Like I said.
And that man was Joe McClain.
There's no proof of that. You have no video, and if you do, it's grainy and you can't really tell. Okay? All right? So there's that. Praise be to God. Someday, Jay Koch, maybe you too could learn the secrets, the insider information of the CDT Cup of Divine Providence. We'll see. God bless you all. Monsignor Charles Pope's going to be our guest tomorrow. Dave Palmer's supposed to be on tomorrow. We'll see what we talk about. But it's going to be a great show nonetheless. God bless you. God love you all. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for having a laugh with us today. We sincerely appreciate it. Please do share us with a friend. Get on that email list if you're not already. Go to grnonline.com/CDT. God bless you. God love you. We'll see you then.
Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is my friend. Jesus is a friend of mine. I have a friend in Jesus. Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is my friend. Jesus.